Hi, everybody. This is Jessica McAtee from My Enneagram Life Coach, and we are doing videos right now about the instinctual subtypes of all of the 9 Enneagram types. And as I've mentioned in the entry video to this little series of videos, there are 3 flavors, essentially, of each Enneagram type. So this might be why you've identified perhaps your Enneagram type, or maybe even you haven't identified your type because what you're hearing about the type you don't really resonate with. Well, one reason could be because within each type are 3 versions of that type that are formed by the person's dominant instinct. The 3 instincts that all animals and all humans have are, in no particular order, self-preservation instinct. That's like taking care of yourself, feeding yourself, shelter, money. With humans, it's like health, exercise, maybe HGTV type stuff. The next subtype is social, which has to do with your sort of like your status within any group, your family group, your friend group, your work, the people you work with. It can be your game club. It doesn't matter. It's just like any series of groups of people, teams that you're on, like people who are dominant in the social instinct are really tuned into how other people are seeing them within the group. And then the third instinct is sexual or one-on-one, which is these people focus on intense relationships with one person. And they and no matter what your Enneagram type is, whether you lead with the self-preservation, social, or sexual one-on-one instinct, it's a way that we all subconsciously deal with whatever the vice is of our Enneagram type. And so that sounds kind of complicated, but I'll just dive right in, and I think maybe you'll understand better once we start going through these. So this video is the instinctual subtypes for the heart types. Heart types are Enneagrams type 2, 3, and 4. And I had forgotten to mention in the intro video, so I'm just going to say it now, that whatever subtype you end up being dominant in, as you move from one Enneagram type to the next, because even though you have a core type, Enneagram is a dynamic system, which means that we very fluidly throughout the day, throughout the hour even, move into different Enneagram types. You always keep your core type as your main type, your primary one, but we all very easily move into the ones to our left and to our right. We follow our lines, and we even have trinotypes. That's for another day. Okay, so no matter what your Enneagram type is, though, your instinctual subtype, whether you are primarily self-preservation, social, or sexual, that never changes. And whatever your secondary one is, never changes. And then your third place instinct is what's called your repressed one. That's probably, we all have a lot of blind spots surrounding the one that's repressed, meaning it's just something we're not that interested in. So people who are self-pres repressed aren't that interested in taking care of themselves. It's not, yes, of course they would like to take care of themselves, but it's not their top priority, so they tend not to. And people who are social repressed don't really care what other people think of them. They're not going to put a lot of effort into trying to have status or rank within an organization or paying attention to where they are in the hierarchy. They just don't care that much. And if you're sexual repressed, you don't care that much about finding a primary relationship. It's just not yeah, sure, it's great. Yeah, of course, one day you'd like to find a partner, maybe, but not your main focus. And that's okay. We all have a third place instinct, but it's reflected in how we live our lives. And whatever your dominant instinct is, you might find, as I did, all of my closest friends, all of them have the same dominant instinct that I do, including my spouse. So these instincts are really, really deep in our system and how we show up. And on the flip side, people who are dominant in my repressed one, I don't really get them. They're really hard for me to understand. And people who repress my dominant instinct, my dominant one is their third place one, I don't get that at all. I'm at a loss. I know it's valid, obviously. I'm an Enneagram teacher. I know that's a real way to be in the world, but it's very confusing to me. And so I tend to hang out with people who are wired more with my dominant instinct. Okay, and chances are you do that too. Okay, so let's go through for the heart types. We're going to start out with type 2. And for type 2, I mentioned, or actually I forgot to mention in the original video, but there's always one of the 3 instinctual subtypes that doesn't look exactly like the number. When it comes to 2s, it's the self-preservation one that's what's the puzzle type. It's puzzle because this person might not exactly look like a 2, but they are a 2. So let's remember what's happening at people who are based in point 2. Okay, so they're heart type people. They are very concerned about being loved. They, in a way, they feel like they're not really lovable, or their needs, especially maybe in childhood, weren't exactly met. And so in adulthood, they are like on a mission to get their needs met. However, they have a vice of pride, which makes it nearly impossible for them to admit that they have any needs. Okay, so the pride causes them to, they're not, actually 2s have a very hard time even knowing what it is they need. But what they sort of do as a subconscious workaround for that is they focus on other people and helping those other people get what they need, because subconsciously it feels to them like then reciprocally those other people will somehow love them and see who they really are, and then their needs will get met indirectly because they've been so instrumental in serving those other people. All 2s do that, but the instinct, the dominant instinct, kind of shows a little bit how they do that. So when we talk about a self-preservation 2, the word here, and a lot of this comes from Beatrice Chestnut. She is a psychologist who's done a ton of work on these subtypes. She's like the queen of subtypes. So she gives them a name. Actually, before her, Claudio Naranjo had also done some work on subtypes. And the name for the self-preservation 2 is privilege. This person is going to subconsciously like seduce people to take care of her needs by acting like childish or helpless. And it's, the idea here is, obviously, most adults, if any adults, pretty much, if they see a child in need, what do? They help a child, even if it's not your child. Men and women do this. People give a little more leeway to children, and people tend to have a soft spot for children and take care of children. If you right now were to look out your window and see a 3-year-old crossing the street by themselves with no adult around, you'd probably dart out your front door and grab that kid, because that's what people do. People look out for kids. So subconsciously, the self-preservation 2 acts like a little child, and this youthful stance is to allure people in to help meet her needs. So it's like she's charming. I've seen it also like ditzy. Like, it doesn't have to be childlike. It can also be kind of like, oh, I didn't understand how that works. Oh, this is so complicated. Could somebody help? It's like cute and confused, something like that. All 2s have a fear of rejection, because that's like their big issue. The big issue at 2 is feeling like they're not loved. So it's really scary for a 2 to directly name her needs to somebody, because if they say no, that's going to be felt really hard as a rejection. So this type of 2, the self-pres 2, she doesn't want to directly ask for her needs, but that's why she's going to just act like a child so that somebody would help her just automatically. Even in the grocery store, it doesn't have to be, it's like anybody, just anybody who's near her. She's not trying to be somebody special, because the other 2 types of 2 are actually trying to be kind of like in more powerful positions. That's not what this one's doing. And that's why it's the counter type. This one is seducing other people to help her and meet her needs through her helplessness, not through her competence. And she is hoping to have a privileged spot in their hearts because, oh, she's just so innocent and darling. Of course, we're going to take care of her, type of thing. I mean, I say her. Of course, it can be a man too, but I try to just keep all of them female just across the board to be consistent. Okay, the next one, let's talk about the social 2. The word here is ambition, and this 2 is extremely serious. This one is very adult-like. Again, when we're dealing with the social subtype, what we're talking about is this person cares how they look within a social context. The social twos are very interesting because they're not that good on one-on-one. If you try to hang out with somebody who's a social two and it's just you and them, they're not really on. But if you put the social two in a group, that's where she's on. So she's better at commanding groups of people than she is just one-on-one discourse. So this is an adult person. This person is very powerful, very competent, very good at administration, leadership. Funny enough, though, because it's a two, remember, pride is what she's dealing with. How does she get her needs met? Well, this type of two gets her needs met by being really important and helpful to the important people in the organization. So she's like the person behind the main person. So she's like, I've seen it in an organization where like there might be a pastor and this girl like makes herself really close to the pastor and the pastor's family, or the boss, the CEO. This person's like the right-hand woman to the CEO. She doesn't want to be the pastor or the boss or the CEO, but she's going to help the pastor, the boss, the CEO. So, wealthy people, I've seen it in that context too. Like a two hangs out with people who are really, really wealthy. Her friends are super wealthy because if you're friends with wealthy people, well, guess what? Some of that's going to trickle down on you. So the social two is wanting to be highly regarded, very important, very serious. Again, this is not childlike. This is serious. And this person is so serious and kind of dominating and powerful that some people might mistype them as an Enneagram type 3 or Enneagram type 8, who are known to be very powerful types. This person doesn't want to get left out of the group. Remember, they're social dominant. So that's why they are so active in helping inside of that group, making themselves indispensable. Like they want to be a really important person within the group so that so they don't get left out because they want to be loved. And again, this is how they're getting their needs met, right? They're getting their needs met by hanging around with the big dogs and things will trickle down. So they want honor, they want prestige, they want notoriety within these groups. And also, it's not just any group, okay? So a social two, she'll be that way at her workplace, but then she'll also be that way in her family, and then she'll be that way with her, euchre club, and like whatever group she's in, that's how she'll show up. She'll always be the person right next to the supreme leader. Okay, finally we have the sexual two, the one-on-one two. I forgot to say the word for the social two. It's ambition. She's ambitious. Okay, now when we get to the one-on-one two or the sexual two, the word is seduction. This is the classical seductress. This person gets her needs met by choosing one person. That's why it's the one-on-one subtype. And she subconsciously believes that this one person is going to meet all of her needs. Now, it's usually her romantic partner. Twos love fairy tales. Twos love romance and happily ever after. Of course, they're heart types and they want to be loved and they love the whole romantic story. So the one-on-one two is focusing specifically on the one person who is going to meet all of her needs. Now, this type is sometimes called a vampire or a black widow. Because the thing is, they will seduce whoever their one person is that they've latched onto, they will suck them dry. I've often thought that a kind of not very serious, but possibly good explanation of this is Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog. Miss Piggy in this case would be the sexual two, right? Like everything is Kermit, and he's like trying to accommodate. By the way, he plays like the type 9. That's what Kermit the Frog plays out. Enneagram type 9. But Miss Piggy as the two, she's always trying to be seductive, very voluptuous, that's the sexual two, like really luring people in by her beauty. And this person wants to look good all the time. Most twos, actually, they're image types. They're trying to look good. But this one is trying to be like sexy, sexy and powerful and a seductress. And again, it's an aversion to just directly expressing her needs to somebody, which is what all of us would want in a relationship, right? Rather than having if you're in a relationship with a two, whether she's a self-pres two, a social two, or a sexual two, just tell us what you need. Like, you don't have to like indirectly do all these things to seduce us. Just tell us what you need. And the sexual too, if her efforts to seduce don't work, if she doesn't feel like her needs are getting met, even though she's trying so hard, turning it on to like attract her one victim, she'll become very angry, very angry. Okay. Let's go to type 3s. So, similar to, actually, for all of the heart types, the self-preservation one is the puzzle kind, the kind that doesn't look like the actual type. And that is so true of a self-preservation 3. 3s, the vice is deceit. And the deceit here starts with, it's not limited to, but it starts with a self-deceit. 3s are heart types, which means they're also image types, which means they are trying to create and maintain an image of themselves that will finally, in the case of the 3, it's like earn them love, but love via, they believe that love comes, that we're valued by our successes and by what we give to the world. So the self-preservation 3, what she's trying to do is, her self-deceit is, it's actually like an anti-vanity. It's like she tries to be vain by not being vain. And so the self-preservation 3 is actually trying to look to be a really good person, just the good image of a person, but she's trying to look like she's not trying to do that. In other words, she's trying to look like a good, amazing, perfect person, but she wants you to think it's just happening naturally and that she's not putting all of her effort into this, but she is actually putting all of her effort into this. So the word here is security. She is, again, she's self-preservation, so she's trying to give herself a secure life, as all self-preservation types are doing. And she's hiding her vanity by being good. She is an excellent specimen of a human being. And unlike the other types of 2, she's not as flashy. A lot of times the self-preservation, did I say 2? I meant 3. The self-preservation 3 is very plain Jane compared to the other 2 types of 3s. The other 3s are really like standing out. This person is more reserved, kind of proper, very one-ish in that sense, because she's not as uptight as a 1. Like she doesn't have the body rigidity of a 1. But she's kind of trying to exude virtue the way 1s are exuding virtue. So she's trying to be an excellent, polished, hardworking, good member of society. Just somebody that everybody says, wow, all around. She's such a good mom. She's such a good wife. She's such a good co-worker. She's so good in the civics groups that she belongs to. She's a really good member of the church, of the community, of the neighborhood. She's really trying to be good. But again, she wants to stand out as being this amazing person, but she doesn't want you to think that that's what she's doing. She's trying to earn accolades. She wants people to look at her and think she's amazing, but she doesn't want you to, she wants you to think it's effortless. This one is, a lot of 3s can tend towards workaholism, but this person, and it's very similar to the type 1, she works because she's trying to be virtuous. And at what point do we stop working? Like it's hard for her to separate like rest time, and she's trying to be viewed as good. And there's a fear there, or a worry that if she doesn't keep working and keep producing, then people are no longer going to value her. So this type is prone to workaholism. The self-preservation 3 is, and all 3s are this way, but this type also is very transactional. They're not good in relationships with emotional connection. It's like relationships to them are like efficient. It's like I do this and you do that. It's transactional instead of relational. So there's a fairness about it. It's not that they're not fair, but they're not good at opening up and sharing their feelings, right? Because they're always trying to save face. So it can be really hard to know the feelings of a 3 and therefore to connect with them, because they're shape-shifting their feelings so that they're like admirable rather than really sharing their feelings. And the self-preservation 3 is the most prone to that. Okay, let's go to the social 3. Now, this one is the classic 3. And this one, when you hear people talk about Enneagram 3s, this is generally the one they're talking about. A self-preservation 3 can find it really hard to recognize that she's a 3 because she doesn't look like the classic 3, but this social 3 is the archetype of the classic 3. So she wants to look good. She wants everybody, she wants all eyes on her. The social 3 wants all the attention. She's very competitive, the most competitive of 3s are all competitive, but this is the most competitive 3. She loves to be in the spotlight. She wants to be the best of the best. She wants to be outstanding, and she wants everyone in the room to know it. Again, so what's happening, remember, this is self-deceit. And 3s believe they are the image that they are creating. So this one's really living into, as long as I look good, then I am good. Of course, that's not true, but that's the vanity that lives at 3. As long as these people look at me and think that I have influence and they admire me, then check, then I've made it. I have officially made it. This one, like I said, is the most competitive, even cutthroat competition because she has to look good to the group. She will hide her vulnerability just like the other one, right? 3s don't want you to know they're vulnerable. There's a self-deceit about their own feelings and vulnerability, which they're trying to present as not vulnerable and successful. And the social 3 is really good at being who people want her to be, or who she thinks they want her to be. And usually she's pretty good at reading that. Okay, and then we get to the one-on-one or sexual 3. So what's happening with the one-on-one 3 is she still wants you to be admiring her. All 3s want to be admired, and they want to be admired because of the image they are creating. The deceit is they don't realize that an image is not the same thing as yourself, that what people think of you is not the same thing as who you really are. So the one-on-one or the sexual 3, what she's doing is she is kind of like making an image that she wants you to see of her, but she does it through the people that are close to her. So like she might have a husband who is like really, really successful, and she's getting her, he makes her look good, right? So she finds that husband because when she links up with him, now her image is improved. It might have nothing to do with her being in love with him. She might not even like him as a person, but if he makes her look good, that's it. That's what the sexual 3 is going for. This one is physically attractive and supporting the important other people. Another thing a sexual 3 might do is like friends or family. Like the sexual 3, it's like the people that are closest to them, they see as reflecting who they are. So they work hard to make you see the people close to them as successful in those roles, so that then that success like reflects back onto the 3. So it's like she might take care of her son and really try to tell you how great her son is, and she might put a lot of effort into making sure her son is a successful kid, because if her son is a successful kid, then she looks like a successful parent. So it's indirect when it comes to the sexual 3. It's like and that's again the self-deceit is like, first of all, that's not even who she is, but it's like the image that she's creating is through the relationships of the people that are closer to her. So she's getting support and connection with others, and that is what is helping her to look good. She's finding herself and her value in how she supports those people close to her. That 3, the sexual 3, can be kind of like an emotional roller coaster, pretty volatile. And they aren't, it's not that they're trying to be in the spotlight so much, but they do want you to notice the people who they are supporting and like think well of those people. So they're like passing the spotlight to the people near them who is reflecting them. Okay, let's go to type 4. Once again, and it's true for all 3 heart types, the self-preservation 4 is the 4 that doesn't actually look like a 4. The vice at 4 is envy. So all manifestations of 4, just like with all numbers, are an attempt to deal with the envy. Envy being, I'm not all I could be, or don't have all I could have. I'm missing something in this world that everybody else has. So how does the self-preservation 4 deal with it? Well, her word is tenacity, And again, she's the puzzle type. She's the kind that does not look like a 4. And that is so true. The self-preservation 4, you would never know, first of all, that she's envious, because she deals with that envy by basically stuffing those feelings of being less than and putting all of her big energy into earning or working or producing whatever it is that she believes that she's missing. So the tenacity here is she's tenacious in going after whatever it is she thinks she's missing. It's often like a status thing. It can be work. It can be her art, right? 4s tend to be creative types. Her emotions are very private, and she's not as... She still feels turbulence on the inside, because all 4s do. 4s are heart types, and they are really, 4s are arguably the most in touch with their emotions. However, the self-preservation 4 does not let you know that she's struggling. She is fierce. 4s are very easy to tell apart. If you know somebody's an Enneagram type 4, once you know that that's their type, it's easy to tell whether they're self-preservation, social, or sexual. That's because the self-preservation 4 always has a happy face on. Hi, I'm fine. No, I'm doing great. She's kind of learned that in childhood to like, that it's like her suffering, and all 4s believe that they get identified with their suffering. They don't know how to separate themselves from their hard feelings. And so her suffering, though, the self-preservation 4 is going to like grin and bear it. That's what she does. So she's even to a masochistic level. If you know any self-preservation 4s, they like put themselves through hell, like intentionally. And you'll be like, what? You did what? I mean, she'll do these crazy, hard things, and like that nobody would do, like very painful, lots of suffering, and she's just smiling and acting totally unscathed. Yeah, I did that. It's like a badge of honor. Her deep suffering and masochism is like a badge of honor, and she will never show you anything other than a smile. Really, really tough stuff, these self-preservation 4s. Very stoic in their suffering, and they really conceal a whole lot of pain. Now, they're still feeling pain. They're just not sharing their pain. Okay. And it's because they want their pain to finally earn them love, because they're image types. And also for this one, remember, she's going to deal with her envy by going after the thing and never giving up. That's kind of like very fierce, very tenacious. Okay. The social 4, totally different presentation. The social 4 still has envy. She feels like she's missing out. She feels like a victim, and she tells everyone about it. So the social 4 is very open and vocal about her suffering. This is much more of a defeated stance, right? The first 4 is really tenacious and powerful, even strong, very strong. This 4, the social 4, not strong. I mean, weak. Sad, like openly sad. The envy is her deal is subconscious. These are all subconscious things that we're doing, but she's sharing her sadness in the hopes that you might try to help her and rescue her. And then a lot of people don't know what to do with it. When a social 4 is sharing all of her problems, and the rest of us who aren't operating in that framework, we're kind of confused by it and might not necessarily help. Maybe we help a little bit, but that's just even more sad for her, right? Because then it's like it's not working. Her strategy isn't working. So I think Eeyore, the character Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, is kind of like a social 4. It's like very ashamed. Shame is the word for this one. Drawing others in because of all of the pain and suffering that she's going through. She's sick. This type of person will usually give you they've got like a lot of health issues. They might have financial issues on top of that. They possibly, in addition to that, they have relationship issues, lots of sadness, lots of missing out in lots of areas of their life. And that brings them a sense of comfort. That dark despair, that melancholy is comforting to them on some level. And they're offering it to people as possibly a way that people will want to reach out and help them and connect with them. the social part of it here is that they are doing that openly, like in a social group. Like it's not even, it's like within a group setting, they're happy to share their issues. And gosh, I know somebody who's this, it's like just whenever she's in the room with even all the other people, it's just, you know, she's regularly going into how she's down and out and how she's flawed and defective. And the other thing is, okay, so remember our Enneagram type, it's not true. It feels true, but it's not true. So 4s are not actually defective in any way. That's their experience of the world, but it's not true. I mean, they're no more flawed or defective than the rest of us. So what often happens, if you have a friend who's a social 4, you might be like, are you kidding me? Like, Betty, nothing is wrong with you. Like, why do you think you're so less than everyone? Because to the rest of us, it's not obvious that this person is at any type of a disadvantage. And that's because that's true, actually. They're not at a disadvantage, but it feels to them like they are. And that's why they harp on it all the time. But it's really just emotions, and that's the social 4. So the social 4 is probably, the social 4 is one of the most melancholy presentations of a human archetype. So if you know somebody who's really always really, really, really down and out, there's a good chance they could be a social 4. Okay, and then finally, the sexual 4, the one-on-one 4. So I mentioned the self-pres, the first one I talked about, the self-pres 4 is a glad 4. I mean, she's not glad inside, but she's presenting as glad. Okay, then, excuse me. Okay, sorry. The social 4 is the sad 4. And then the final 4 that we haven't talked about is the mad 4. The sexual 4 is a mad 4. She deals with her envy by basically being competitive and making other people suffer. So she gets very angry. She gets to like a boiling point. Remember, 4s are good with their emotions. This person knows she's angry and she's not afraid to express it. And she's angry because people don't see her for who she really is, or other people are getting benefits or promotions that they don't deserve or that she deserves, or, you know, people are being recognized for things and she wants to be recognized for her things. So she's very competitive. She's always comparing herself to other people. That's like a huge thing for all of the heart types, but especially for 4s. And so she's angry because her envy makes her think it's like it's not fair that she's not getting what is hers or what she should have, or that she's somehow, you know, has some sort of a lesser than life, and so she's mad about that. So if you're close to a person like this, she can take it out on you. She can be pretty rough to people who are close to her. And because of that, they can look 8-ish when they're being harsh and criticizing like that. It's like they're punishing because of their envy. It's almost like they're going to balance out the fairness by punishing people, even though the person they're punishing is not even always the person they're mad at. This 4 is sometimes called murderous and hateful. I mean, the mad 4 can really be brutal. And I should also say, remember, no matter what your Enneagram number is, you have all 3 of these instincts. It's just what order do you have them in? And also, none of these are flattering. Like, I realize that. None of them, of any of the types, are flattering. Like, when we go over the subtypes, it's like our darkest shadow side, for sure. All of us, when we do our spiritual work and even just our Enneagram work, we can learn that these stories that we're living in aren't true. It's not true that 2s don't know what they need and can't get their needs met. We are already, our Creator has given us the ability to have what we need in life. The Lord is our shepherd, we shall not want, right? Like we're not lacking anything. 4s think they're lacking. No, you're not lacking anything. The Lord is our shepherd, I shall not want. And 3s, you're already loved and you're already enough. And all of this image creating, nobody loves you anymore for the image you're creating. The people who love you just love you anyway. So those are the things that are hard for us to see through. Yeah, so thanks for watching this video, and the next one we do will be on the subtypes for the body types 8, 9, and 1. Have a great day.